I now recognize Mr. Burlison from Missouri for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. I, like everyone in my constituents, are fed up with watching Washington squander their money on frivolous programs and bloated bureaucracies, which is why the Department of Government Efficiency was the most exciting thing that when I went back home and talked to constituents about. It's the most exciting thing that was happening with this administration. And look, this is an example of what private sector can do when it's evaluating a bloated public sector system that seems to be resistant to everything. When I spoke with Mr. Musk, I warned him. I said, this place is a swamp for a reason, and you cannot rely on the politicians and the people in this town to help you in evaluating or determining places to cut. They will only deliver what they want, right? And there's a reason why Congress, it being in our hands, we're at $37 trillion in debt, and we have all of these wasted expenditures. So, Mr. Dickerson, I'm going to ask you three the same question. If you had anything to say to the DOGE efforts, to the DOGE team, and to Mr. Musk, what would you say?
I would say keep up the good. It's been a good start so far, and keep up the good work.
Mr. Burton?
Excuse me. I think there's a need for them to get beyond just canceling grants and starting to work with you to draft legislation to make these changes permanent. If Congress ultimately doesn't act, either through appropriations bills or rescissions, it's going to be ephemeral. There's also the need to make changes on the regulatory front. There's needs to change various secretary directives. They need to take it to the next step to bring it home, and they haven't done that.
Thank you. Mr. Lips?
I agree with that point. I think the most important thing they could do now would be to work with the members of this committee and the Congress on government efficiency reforms, many of which I think should have broad support among lawmakers.
Mr. Vito, let me ask you this. You've seen a lot of the DOGE cuts and the programs. Is there a single one that you would have agreed with? A single one?
Part of the problem, I think, with DOGE...
Answer yes or no. Don't eat up my time. Is there a single one that you would have agreed with?
I don't think there is a yes or no answer to that question.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to waste my time. I want to dive into Mr. Burton and what you said. So the question is, why isn't Congress, what should happen to force Congress to actually make these cuts that have been identified?
Congress needs to legislate, and it hasn't been. I mean, the GAO has made countless proposals. The improper payments have been around for decades and literally involve trillions of dollars. No one's fixed that. That's one of the few things, though, that the administration has the ability through administrative changes to do on their own, because they're legally required not to spend that money, and yet it's going on. Congress needs to appropriate, the appropriators. There needs to be changes in the authorizing committee. A lot of the grants that the chairwoman was referencing could be prohibited through authorizing legislation. Congress needs to legislate, and at some level, it sort of has forgotten how to do so.
Do you think that we could?
Yes.
You do?
In fact, I'm old enough to remember when you guys did.
Well, I may be just above being black-pilled at this point, so you're giving me a little bit of hope here. But if Mr. Dickerson, if you could make one significant change, what would be the most significant change or policy change that we could do that would save taxpayers' dollars?
I think one of the most important things you can do is exactly what you're doing in the One Big Beautiful Bill reconciliation package, which is reform our welfare programs that literally pay people to stay out of the workforce and have entirely the wrong disincentives, so that we can actually preserve benefits for people who are actually needy, right? Things like income verification that Mr. Timmons was talking about, that's so essential to do.
Mr. Lips, if you could change one thing, if we passed one thing, what would we do?
I'd recommend strengthening the death or the do not pay data that's available to the Treasury Department. This is a bipartisan measure that could be, I think, passed through the House and Senate. It would provide access to Treasury to stop improper payments and end fraud.
Thank you. I yield back.
The gentleman times has expired.